Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to plant in me Broadbeans today, and I'm going to do this in two separate videos. I'm going to do the first video where I plant them in, and the planting in has to happen now because the roots have reached the bottoms of these pots. And if I just bring one of them over here to show you, you'll see that there is roots coming out the bottom of the pot there. So if we just look at this plant right here, you can see that there's roots developing at the bottom of the pot. And if I just gently tip this up and show you the plant itself, you'll see the roots are really well developed on this plant, and it is now a good time to plant these in and get them progressively growing and keep them roots searching for the nutrients of the water and get them growing well at this stage, being the beginning of April. So I'm just going to put that lid or that pot back onto that plant right there, but I'm going to plant these in now. I've let these get to a really nice established size, and if you're planting young plants or sowing seeds into the ground, it's recommended that you space them 6 to 9 inches apart. But I've set these out 12 inches apart, these plants, because they're really robust, healthy looking broad beans, Aqua Dulce Claudia, and they've got some really nice tillers starting to come, and as I showed you in my last video, the flowers are about to emerge as well. So this area has been already worked, and if I just bring a little bit of the soil over to show you, the soil is looking really nice in here. It had a top dressing of some cow manure for the winter, and now it has got to the point where this soil is looking really nice to plant these broad beans into. Really nice texture to this now that it's been lightly forked and a little bit of hoeing to get the soil nice and loose to get those roots venturing. So I'm going to stick me broad beans in today 12 inches apart, and I'm gonna have to put you on a little bit of a long video today, and you're just gonna have to watch his work. But I want you to see how it is I'm gonna set these in, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a hole first for each plant along the way, and there's one at the very end here that's a little bit off camera that you can see to the right hand side, but I can't help that. It's just the best angle that I can get for the angle and the position that I can put the phone to film. But for the other ones, you're going to see us set them in as I do, and then when it comes to this last one over here, I can't other than apologise for the fact that it's a little bit off camera. But I'm going to set these broad beans in today. Claudia, Aqua Dulce, Aqua Dulce broad beans, or Aqua Dulce Claudia. They're really lovely broad bean, really nice, robust, healthy plants that produce lots of pods if you get them off to a really nice start and then plant them in early spring, which is what I'm going to do right now. Okay folks, so I'm going to go to the other side over there, and I'm going to work my way backwards, and you're going to watch us work, and along the way I'll have a little chat with you and talk to you, and you can see what it is that I'm doing. So here we go folks, I'm at the beginning of the row. Just going to make a little mark here so I know where to put the second one, and the first one is going to go in also. So just move these two to the side, and I'm just going to gently tip this plant up and show you the roots that are growing, and they've reached the bottom of the pot now, so now it is a good time to set these in. So just going to put that pot back on there for a second, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fork the soil over, and I'm going to lift it out to the point where it accommodates the plant pot that they are currently growing in. So just lift a bit of the soil out so the plant pot can fit nicely inside, and as I work along the row you'll be able to see the exact same thing happen throughout. So there's the first hole made, and I'm just going to set my pot in, and you can see there, if I just move this plant here to the side, that this plant pot fits nicely into the hole, and I'm literally just going to tip it upside down. You can see the roots there looking really nice, and I'm just going to drop it into the hole, make sure it's nice and level, and then just backfill around me broadbean plant. And there we go, that's the first one now set in to this row. So that one's done right there, looking really nice, and I'm just going to work my way along and do the rest of them. So again, got my plant right here, looking really nice. Make sure that it's exactly the spacing that I want, which is 12 inches. Lift the soil out, that'll accommodate the plant, like so. And then just tip it up. Nice looking roots. Be very gentle and just slot it in there. So there's another one now planted in. Really nice. So now I'm going to have to carefully manoeuvre myself and just carry along this row. So just move these two pots out of the way, and we'll just work our way along. So the next one, there's the plant right there. Just move this to the side so you can see really nice what I'm doing. So this one's going to go right here next to this stick that you see right there, and again I'm just going to lift the soil out so it can accommodate the plant that I'm about to plant. So there we go. And now I'm just going to tip this plant up, show you the roots, which again looking really nice. Reach the bottom of the pot there, so there's no time to wait other than now. Just going to drop this plant in, then backfill around my broadbean, and that's another one now put into the ground, like so. Very simple, not hard to do at all, and I'll just work along the row and do the rest of them. So we'll come to the next one, and I'm on a little bit of a funny angle now, but that doesn't matter as long as you can see what it is I'm doing. So 12 inches to the next one, and again just gonna lift out the soil to accommodate my broadbean plant. So there we go, and again just gonna gently tip up this plant so you can see the roots on the inside, and again looking really nice. Roots have reached the bottom, wanting to venture, not going to disturb them too much at all. Just stick my plant in and make sure that it's going to be to the level that it was when it was in the pot. Pop it in there, and then just simply backfill around my broadbean. And there we go. There's another one set in. Looking quite nice so far. So that's 4 done there. And I'm just going to creep along the row and mark out my next one, which again, 12 inches apart, like so. And I'm just going to set in this next one. So again, just make sure that I can accommodate the plant pot that is going to go in there. So again, just maneuver that soil so it fits the pot that I'm going to plant in. And again, bring over my broad bean. Again, lovely looking roots on that are now going to start venturing. Stick it in to the position that I want, and then just backfill around my broad bean. So there's another one now sitting, folks. So that's 5 that I've done, and I'm just going to carry along the row and keep going. So they're all nicely set in. So we'll come to the next one further along. So just move this pot out of the way, and we'll come to the next one. And again, it's going to be some lovely looking roots on this. So just going to lift out the soil that's needed to fit the broad bean in. Like so. Tip it up, and you'll be able to see the roots on this plant as well. Again, looking really nice. Nice looking roots. So just gently does it, pop it into the hole, backfill around it, and there's another broad bean now set in. So you can see what it is that I'm doing here, and at the end there's going to be a little bit of tidying up before I next show you all of these plants, but you can see the ones that I've set in so far. So just going to maneuver myself back a little bit there, move the soil around so the broad beans are happy, and then I'm going to have to go to the other side, maybe change the angle of the camera a little bit so you can see well what it is that I'm doing, and put in the last 2. So they're set in, and I'm really happy about that, and they can now grow on and do their thing. And I'm going to put the last 2 in on the other side there. So if I just come around to the other side of the camera, I'm going to set in the last 2, and I'm going to maybe change the angle just a little bit, so if you bear with us, folks. It is a little bit tricky because of the nature of what it is I'm using to film, but I'll try my best. Alright, so there we go. That's the best angle that I can get for these last 2. Okay, so there we go. Right, I'm going to put the last one here, and then one that's just a little bit off camera, which I really apologise for, but when it comes to the final bit of video, you'll be able to see the row that I've set in, like. So I'm going to now take me hand fork here and just set in this bean right here. Again, another really nice looking Aqua Dulce Claudia broad bean. So just going to mark out where they're going to go, and that's the little bit of a marker there. Just lift out this lovely looking substrate that I've created in my garden, like, and then stick in this broad bean. So again, nice looking soil, nice looking plant, nice looking roots on it, wanting to venture. and do that thing. So in that ganj, backfill around the plant to help it settle in. And there's another broad bean planted. Some nice tillers coming, nice one here and a nice one here. And I'm hoping that we're going to get some fair weather so the little slugs didn't come out and have a bit chew, you know. But I've given the plants their best chance, you know. They really are nice looking broad beans, these. Maybe just slightly manoeuvre this just a little bit back so it fits in canny where I want it to be. So that's looking alright, happy enough with that. And then the last one, like I say folks, it's really difficult to get the angle, but there's one more to gan in. So there's another one here, and I'm going to make a hole just down here. So again, a little bit off camera, I can't help it, right? There's no way of getting the angle, but the last one's going to go in just like the others, all right? So I've made a hole there. And I'm going to bring over this broad bean as well. Tip it up so you can see. Again, nice looking roots on that. Wanting to venture. So in the hole it's going to go, just like the others. Backfill around it. And then I'll change the angle of the camera so you can see well what it is that I've done. So that one's also set in, looking canny. Just pulls a bit more of this soil around so it is the place that I want it to be. And that's my broad beans now set in. Now there is 2 spare ones, right? And I grew the seeds and I grew the plants, and then I selected the best looking ones. There was maybe 1 or 2 that were not as really well established and growing happily as all these ones that you see here, but there is 2 more left over. But it's always good to have a few extra just in case you have mishaps along the way or something happens, or maybe the slug might get in your greenhouse, or a snail, or at times, right, I've had birds get into my greenhouse and flap about and break stuff. So it's always good to have a few spare. But these are the best ones that I had. And there's 2 left over. And I am going to find a spot in the garden for them. So as the season progresses, you might see us just randomly say, guess what happened to them 2 extra spare broad beans? I stuck them over here. Or I might just give them away to someone on the gardens who really likes beans and wants to grow them. But either way, I've got a row in, and that's good enough for me because I am going to grow me runner beans and me French beans this year, which are other beans that I really love. But having broad beans is something that's really nice. But once the crop's in the ground, you just go with what it is that's happening at the time. And every season's like that, you know. You put your best efforts into growing some plants. You plant in the ones that you want, and then you just go with them and then move on to the next set of plants for the growing season, which is something I'm desperate to do because now that I've got these in the ground, it just means I can now start thinking about what am I going to grow next, all right? But they're in. So let's give you another look, and I'll just gently take the phone here. And there we go. So those broad beans are now set in, and I'm going to put a little bit of a frame against here just to give them something that's for a bit of support and something to tie them to as they grow. And the thing that I'm going to use is this over here, and it's this bit of metalwork right here. So if I just pick this up and take it over here so you can see, I'm going to put this rather rusty looking thing behind the broad beans right here. And I do have 2 of them. So there's one that's just going to go in right here, like so. So I'll just push that into the ground so you can see. And then that will help to support them as they grow. and then when they get up to this height I'll tie them into there, and then eventually they'll get up to here. But that's it, folks. Me Claudia Aquadulce Broadbeans are planted into the ground and they're looking nice. And as time goes by, we'll see what the outcome of these beans is. But now they're in, and we've went for 20 minutes now, so I'm hoping that you're still watching, and if you are, thank you very much, and I'll catch you again on the next one when we see how these beans are growing. Take it easy everyone, catch you again on the next one.